In this video, we're going to talk about the sources of privacy protection. We're going to look at 5 sources of privacy protection. We're going to look at a few different privacy governance models, and then we're going to close by discussing the pros and cons of the comprehensive and sectoral models. Altogether, there are 5 sources of privacy protection. We're going to discuss 3 on this slide and the next 2 on the following slide. The 3 sources of privacy protection we're discussing here are law, markets, and technology. Law is pretty straightforward. This is a law that's passed by Congress, signed into law by the president, and then upheld by the courts. Examples include HIPAA, COPPA, and GLBA. At this point in the course, you don't know what these acronyms stand for, and that's totally fine. We're going to get to them soon. With regards to markets, this is essentially where we see one or a small number of companies making some innovation or perhaps providing new protections to consumers, and then those companies being rewarded by an increasing share of the market. As those companies start to become more attractive for their privacy protections, other companies in that sector need to keep up, and so they begin offering the same protections. This is a case of where we see markets determining privacy protections. As for technology, this is pretty straightforward as well. This is where we have a technological innovation that is able to provide privacy enhancing or privacy preserving technologies. For the CIPP US, we're not going to talk much, if at all, about privacy enhancing technologies. If you're interested in learning more about them, then you'll want to take a look at the CIPT, the Certified Information Professional Technologist certificate. The 2 main sources of privacy protection that we're going to focus on here are self-regulation and co-regulation. Let's talk a little bit about self-regulation. As it sounds, this is when an industry regulates itself. For example, instead of having Congress create laws, enforce, and adjudicate those laws, we have an industry doing it itself. Again, making, adjudicating, and enforcing its own rules. An example of this is the credit card company or the credit card sector via the PCI DSS. This acronym stands for Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. I know that's a mouthful. You're going to need to remember that. At the very least, you need to know that PCI DSS is for the credit card industry. In the example of companies regulating themselves, if there's a particular company or vendor that is not in compliance, then that company is subject to fines, audits, and even exclusion from the industry. One reason why an industry would be interested in regulating itself is to keep government at bay. Once things start to get unruly, if they ever devolve to that point, then the government may step in with stringent regulation. So it's in the industry's best choice to really police itself. Co-regulation, again, is what it sounds like. This is where an industry regulates itself in accordance or in agreement or in coordination with a government requirements. One example of this is COPPA. And again, we're going to talk about this soon, but in short, this is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Another concept or group of organizations that you need to understand is third-party seal programs. These are third-party organizations that verify compliance and demonstrate trustworthiness. And so, for example, let's say that in the payment card industry, there's a third-party auditor that goes around to all of the payment card companies or those who process payment cards, looks over all of their systems, their policies, their procedures, their administrative and technical controls, verifies everything and says, hey, y'all are doing exactly what you need to do. Great. Here's a big shiny certificate and a seal that you can put on your website. Well, when other companies see that, they're going to say, all right, this is a credible company. And similarly, if that seal has some currency in the public and the market, then when individuals see that, they're going to say, hey, I can trust this company because they have this seal. 4 examples of third-party seal programs that you may likely know about are TrustArc, McAfee, VeriSign, and PayPal. You'll definitely want to know everything here, the difference between self-regulation, co-regulation. You want to know what a third-party seal program is, and you want to know these examples. With regards to privacy governance models, there are 2 models that we're going to discuss here. the comprehensive governance model, and the sectoral. The comprehensive model refers to a model where there are robust laws governing the entire data lifecycle. And we're going to look at the data lifecycle in just a little bit. In short, this is the life cycle of data from the point of collection until the time that that data is destroyed. In the European Union, the GDPR is an example of a comprehensive privacy governance model. There are national data protection authorities that oversee the enforcement and compliance of the GDPR. The United States is an example of a sectoral privacy governance model. This is where we have laws that apply to specific sectors only. For example, there's one law for the healthcare industry. There are very different laws for the financial industry. Similarly, there's a whole nother law for education. And so this is called the sectoral approach because the laws apply to specific sectors. Just a moment ago, we talked about self-regulation and co-regulation. Self and co-regulation are present in comprehensive and sectoral approaches, and we will discuss those when we get to them later throughout the course. Let's take a look at the pros and cons of the comprehensive and sectoral models. With regards to the comprehensive model, the pros are consistency and the promotion of commerce. Individuals are more likely to participate in the market, to buy and sell things when they feel like their personal information, their bank account, their credit card information is all protected, when they don't have to worry about identity theft or any types of threats like that. Cons, however, include not all data is created equal, a one-size-fits-all approach. The comprehensive model is often maligned for being overly bureaucratic. And finally, it's expensive to apply high security controls to low-risk data. Now let me back up and just flesh this out a little bit. Not all data is created equal. As far as the comprehensive model is concerned, your first and last name as one data element requires the exact same protections as your credit card number combined with your address, with your zip code, with the CVC number on the back, and your phone number and your email address. All right. These two groups of data, first and last name plus full credit card, address, phone number, etc. These are the same as far as the comprehensive model is concerned. But I think we would all agree that the amount of damage you can do with these two data sets is different. With your first and last name, I can do next to nothing. With your credit card information, your first and last name, your address, your zip code, I can go on to pretty much any e-commerce website. And if you don't have two-factor authentication enabled, I can go on a shopping spree. So this is one of the downfalls of the comprehensive model, is that companies are required to protect all of the data as if it's sensitive data, and that requires that companies incur additional expenses. With regards to the sectoral model, the pros are that the laws are tailored to data and industry. The cons are that there's no single authority and that we have a patchwork of laws, requirements, and authorities. If we think about the United States right now, there's no comprehensive privacy legislation. What this means is that there are different laws throughout all of the 50 states, and this can be really confusing for businesses to navigate. In this lecture, we've talked about the 5 different sources of privacy protection. These include law, markets, technology, self-regulation, and co-regulation. We've talked about the comprehensive and sectoral governance models, and we've also weighed the pros and cons of these two main models. With regards to the comprehensive model, we talked about it being comprehensive and promoting commerce. The cons include that the comprehensive model takes a one-size-fits-all approach and can be very expensive for businesses. With regards to the sectoral model, we discussed that the laws are tailored to the data and to the industry, which is an advantage, but a downfall is that it's a confusing patchwork of laws, which can be very difficult for companies to navigate if they don't have the right advisors.